Alright, here's the truth. 2025 is almost over. Right now, you might be thinking, I don't have a chance to save my year. And honestly, if you've completely fallen off, you might be right. But that's not the point. Even if you didn't hit every goal, even if you were in the trenches right now, your year is not wasted. And that's because this is the perfect time for you to lock in. Not just for you to finish this year off strong, but so that you can go into 2026 as a completely new person. In this video, I'm gonna get you back on track and make sure that these last few months of the year are worth it. But before we get too deep into it, hello beautiful people of the internet, my name is Jen and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I post a lot of lifestyle videos, a lot of self-help videos, a lot of wellness videos. So if you're into any of that, be sure to click the subscribe button down below. And listen, I know we all want immediate change. And once we decide we're making that change, we want to be perfect. But that is not how growth works. If you want to be great long term, you need to start with the very basics and take it slow. Build from there. That's why my first tip is going to be to focus on your sleep schedule and the whole routine that comes with it. I know no one wants to hear it. For some people, prioritizing a good night's sleep is scarier than any horror movie, but the only way you're gonna be able to grind is to first make sure you have enough battery. The biggest killer of productivity is not being rested enough. And I know it's hard, but that's why I want you to start now. Sleeping and having a bedtime routine, having a morning routine, that's such an individualized process, and everyone's gonna need different things. So I don't want you to automatically jump into a 5 a.m. perfect aesthetic morning routine tomorrow. I want you to start making small changes and I want you to observe. For the first few days, see if you can just manage not snoozing your alarm, just at your normal wake up time. Then move on to trying to get out of bed after your first alarm. Then maybe you can dial back your alarm by 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes, whatever. As you're doing that, what is the hardest part of that for you? Is it actually physically waking yourself up? Is it getting out of bed? Is it the process of going through your whole morning routine? Where exactly is the resistance coming from? Which part of it do you not enjoy? Or which part of it do you dread? I'm the kind of person who needs to not give myself the opportunity to change my mind, because for the longest time, I had no idea how I was supposed to just will myself out of my sleepy state and to just wake up when I'm literally not conscious enough to know what I'm even doing. I realized something in that process. I can't get up if I'm half asleep because I don't have the brain power to think about what I'm doing. So I have to make sure that I get myself into a state where I'm alert enough. And once I'm there, be in that position to not want to go back to sleep. So now I have this whole process where my sunrise alarm wakes me up, but I have my phone going off with the normal alarm in my bathroom 5 minutes later. So when that sunrise alarm goes off, sure, I could very easily choose to still go back to sleep, but I know that alarm's going off in 5 minutes anyway, and I'm gonna have to go walk over there to turn it off. So now I've just been appreciating my last 5 minutes in bed, knowing that it is definitively 5 minutes and I don't get a chance to snooze again, because once I stand up, I don't care enough to go back to bed, honestly. I really thought I would be the person who would just go grab my phone at the bathroom and come back to bed. Honestly, it doesn't feel worth it. I'm not saying this is the exact routine that you need to adopt, but it's just an example of watching yourself so closely that you begin to understand exactly what you need for these kind of situations. I knew that no alarm that was close enough for me to reach was ever gonna be effective. Some people need something more intense than that. Some people need stuff less intense than that. But if you figure out what the resistance is, under the premise that you're still getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night, you can find the means to correct it. The harder part about making this work is you also need to have a good wind down routine. You need to go to sleep at a decent time, and you also need a real reason to get up in the morning. That's not just you should wake up earlier. And I want you to think of your sleep as two things: powering down your body and powering down your mind. The reason why a lot of people can't fall asleep at night and therefore have a hard time waking up in the morning is because they are worked up. Physically, you need to slow your bodily processes down, which means finish eating your dinner and finish drinking most of your water a little bit earlier in the night, and don't do extremely strenuous activity very close to bedtime. I want to note, I'm not saying don't work out in the evenings, because a lot of people do enjoy doing that, but just maybe don't go on like a 5-mile run a few minutes before you plan on going to sleep, because you still need a little bit of time for your heart rate to decrease and to not have all of those endorphins going crazy. But I do think the thing that most people have a harder time with is mentally shutting down. So here are some tips I have if you struggle with this one. Keeping your bright lights on, especially your overhead lights, always helps. And if you want a different color light instead, red is very good. If you don't have a specific specific red light tool, you can literally just turn on a YouTube video of a red background. I use one that has white noise and that works really well. Which, speaking of white noise, brown noise, it's very good for your brain. Obviously, limited screen time is good for you, but specifically limiting social media and TV, I personally still think if you want to do something like digital journaling or reading on a Kindle, that's fine as long as you're doing it with blue light glasses. But things like social media and TV is not going to keep you calm and relaxed. Like I said, being on your phone isn't the worst thing in the world. It's just better to do something more soothing for you rather than doing something like checking your situationships, following on Instagram. Whatever is going to be able to take your mind off of everything is going to be the most helpful. I used to spend my nights thinking of everything that I did wrong throughout the day or throughout my life, or planning out everything I needed to do the next day. All that does is spike your cortisol, getting you more alert and making you have a harder time falling asleep. What it all comes down to is how you get your brain to power down. Some people need a lot of different conditions while some need very little. Find the thing that makes your brain go quiet, make that a sacred part of your wind down routine. As if me telling you to focus on your sleep wasn't bad enough, I'm gonna tell you something equally as annoying, which is watch what you're putting in your body. I know for a fact you know what I'm talking about. Your nutrition and your hydration. Look, again, I know this is hard. This is something at the top of so many people's list and it always falls short. And why is that? Well, honestly, a lot of people just don't know where to start. They focus so much on being perfect that they don't try anything at all. So I'm gonna give you a framework right now. First, I want you to pick 2 days out of your week that you can dedicate to grocery shopping and cooking. Beforehand, make sure you have a new recipe that you want to try saved. And on the day that you cook, make sure you have no other distractions. Focus solely on cooking and make sure you follow the directions correctly. Save any leftovers you have and try it for lunch the next day. After you're finished with the cooking part and you tried your meal, write down how it tasted, how long it took for you to cook, how hard it was for you to cook, and how it made you feel when you ate it. Just a little while, you'll have a ton of recipes that you can come back to. Just don't expect it to be perfect. Some are gonna be bangers and some aren't. After trying hundreds of recipes at this point, I probably have 20 that I can come back to consistently, but that is plenty. When cooking and eating starts to feel difficult, you'll have a backlog of things that you can reference. And for the nutrition part of it, I would say if you're just starting, focus on where your protein is coming from and try to reduce the things that you know are really bad for you, like sugars, caffeine, alcohol. You don't need to do that much else when you're first starting. If you're really focused on losing weight, then the only other thing you have to consider is calories in versus calories out. But you don't need to worry about all your macros. Just try and think about getting some protein in every meal. Another thing that I think is really important is meal prepping. I don't mean the type of meal prepping that is prep every lunch and dinner for the entire week. I'm just talking about one time a week, cutting up all your vegetables, prepping all your sauces and marinades, and making sure you have some grab and go snacks. If you can dedicate just a couple hours a week to preparing the food so that your cooking goes quicker, it'll make your life so much easier. And if you start doing all of these things, you'll start learning naturally what else you need to do. Your diet, as well as your cooking, is one of those things you really need to dedicate some time to. Start now so you know what you're doing and you can maintain it into next year. You're gonna fuck up a lot in the beginning and you want that initial learning curve out of the way so that way you don't get discouraged on the first day of the new year. Alongside nutrition and diet is movement. Now, diet and movement are very, very similar and are of course under the same general category. You need to put in the reps with the basics for a very long time to learn what works for you. I do not suggest aiming to copy someone's 5-day gym split right off the bat. No, I suggest getting your brain used to movement in the simplest sense, especially if you're coming from doing absolutely nothing. Or if you're the kind of person who starts and stops and starts and stops and starts and stops. You need to ingrain the habit long term. You can start with just going on 10-minute walks or just doing 5 minutes of stretching. Maybe after a while you start aiming for 10,000 steps a day. Maybe after that you start going to the gym more often. But I want to emphasize this. You do not need to focus on the final product if you're not working out consistently and you want to be. Allocate a little bit of time every single day to do something, just any movement at all. Once you're in the habit, that's when you can think of expanding the habit. I can't tell you exactly where to start, but I just want you for the first few weeks to do whatever you feel like doing that is still moving your body, and you can grow yourself from there. Now, I know I just bombarded you with 3 huge tasks. Fixing your sleep schedule, fixing your diet, fixing your workout routine. Like, that's not what everyone is trying to do. It's a lot of added time and dedication, I get it, but these next 2 tips should fuel your previous tips. And it'll make the whole experience more seamless. And first with that, I want you to get off your phone. Staying on your phone too much will be the biggest reason you don't have the time and the energy to do all of these other things that you want to do. So turn off your notifications, set a focus mode, or turn on do not disturb, set timers or alarms if you need to, and get your phone away from you. Put it in another room, put it in a drawer, I don't care. It needs to be separated from you. This is what I want you to do when you're getting ready for bed, when you're waking up in the morning and doing your morning routine, when you're making meals, when you're working out, and when you're doing any kind of deep work. You need to be focused. Every task that you do with your phone being a distraction will take you double, triple, quadruple the time. And it also makes you compare yourself, and it just kills your dopamine, which makes you overall unhappier and then makes it harder to get out of a slump. Now look, your phone is not the devil. It can be a good tool at times. But when you're on it 24/7, it abolishes your productivity. In my opinion, you should be able to set allocated phone time for yourself, and you can use certain methods like the Pomodoro method, where you do like 25 minutes of deep work and then you allow yourself around 5 minutes on your phone. But otherwise, stay focused. You have goals, you have plans, and your phone is ruining that. Lastly, you need a way to keep track of your progress and to keep yourself on track. For this, I would say to pick up journaling. Journaling has made a huge difference in my life, and I would honestly recommend it to every single person ever. If you haven't watched this video yet, it is like my top method for self-growth. I just think we as people need to reflect as much as possible and to keep record of all of our growth, all of our changes. That's why I say do weekly audits on yourself. The one in the video that I just mentioned is more so for every category of your life, like your career and your finances and your friends and your family, which again, highly recommend doing that one. But because this has been more of a health focused video, I would also recommend doing audits for like every tip that we covered in this video. So for all of these different things, you should be able to rank them out of 10 where you are, be able to identify what's going well and what's going wrong. For sleep, you can write down how long you slept every night, what time you woke up in the morning, what time you went to bed, how much energy you had when you woke up, and how tired you were throughout the day. For nutrition, you can write out all of your meals, your hunger levels, your cravings, and your energy. For movement, you can write out all your workouts, how your body felt, and how your recovery went. I guarantee you, if you keep good logs of all of these things and write out all of those thoughts and feelings that come alongside it, you'll learn more about yourself than ever before, and you'll be able to make progress at an insane rate. I've always been introspective, but I will be the first one to tell you, I didn't start really internalizing these things and really processing what I needed until I started writing them all down. Now I have records, I have notes, and I have tangible progress, which is another thing that's so good is you can literally see your growth over time. If you write down your bedtime for months on end and you see it getting earlier and earlier, you have no choice but to accept that you're growing. Even if the progress isn't insane or it's hard to see over time, it's still there. Slow progress is still progress. So you might be watching this video right now thinking, these tips are really basic and they're overdone and obvious, but like that's the point. If you want to go into 2026 being the best version of yourself, you need to focus on the basics. Your health, physical and mental, is pretty much the biggest foundation of your entire life. Essentially everything else is reliant on you being good in these areas, or at least being okay. Your foundation for becoming the best version of yourself is literally the vessel that you live in. If your mind and your body aren't well, you're gonna have trouble focusing on all the extra stuff. Like we could get into the nitty-gritty, all these healthy habits that are nice to have and that make us feel good, but they're all secondary to taking care of our home, like our physical being. So I know for a lot of people it's not what they want to hear, but if in any of these things that I mentioned you feel like there's something lacking, then that is truly where you need to start. And everything else from here will be icing on the cake. All right, that's all I have for you guys. If you watched all the way through, make sure to comment which of these 5 things you are going to spend the most time focusing on for the rest of 2025. And I hope that you all blossom into the person you want to be, that I know you're going to become. Also, if you like this video, be sure to leave it a like. And if you're feeling generous, you can even subscribe. I do hope to see you guys all in the next video, but if not, bye-bye.